So, Squid Game. Everyone is talking about this Korean show, cause it's on Netflix, which means it's popular and therefore shit. Nah, I'm just kidding, I really love the show. I like how it has both this wacky style with all those colorful sets and costumes of the game, but also characters who have believably real problems, like families being torn apart due to massive debts. You know, fun for the whole family! It's a combination which is pretty unique for the Battle Royale genre, and it also has some nice foreshadowing, like, spoiler warning, hiding all the games on the wall of the dormitory, the fact only one player survives could be gleaned when a detective combs through the archives, or when Oh Il-nam acts all weird during the marble game, saying the setting is just like his old childhood home, and you think, oh, it's his brain cancer acting up. And then after the twist, you're like, oh shit, he wasn't kidding! But the main thing about Squid Game is that it's very obvious and unsubtle in its political message. Like, the evil American VIP is, well...
No! No, don't do it, you asshole! Fucking loser!
What convinced you to bet so much on number 69?
Oh, it's such a beautiful number! 69!
I know writers who use subtext and they're all cowards.
It is literally part of the backstory of the protagonist that he tried to organize a strike which failed. This backstory is a very specific parallel to a strike in 2008 of a South Korean motor company. But what I think is most interesting about this is that despite, or maybe even because of these very specific political messages, it's recognizable and relatable for a lot of people around the world.
Did you have Western audiences in mind at all when crafting Parasite, being more focused on driving home the more specifically Korean subtext?
그 영화를 찍을 때는 어떤 한국적인 코리안 뉘앙스 같은 거에 되게 충실했고 표면적으로 그 한국적인 디테일들로 꽉 찬 영화라고 생각했는데 막상 완성돼서 여러 나라에서 영화를 틀어보니까 다들 똑같은 뜨거운 반응이 있어가지고 아 이게 되게 유니버설한 스토리였구나. 왜냐하면 우리가 하나의 나라에서 살고 있다 지금 하나의 거대한 나라 자본주의라는.
And that's my main question. Why is Squid Game so unsubtle and yet so relatable worldwide? It's probably no coincidence the writing is blunt, because it is very difficult for media outside of the West or America to get in.
Once you overcome the 1-inch tall barrier of subtitles, you will be introduced to so many more amazing films.
At the same time, Netflix is one of the biggest entertainment companies in the world. If you make a Netflix production, you have a chance not to be just seen in your own country, but possibly the whole world. So not only do you have to make your point as clear as possible,
69!
You make the ways you tell your story as Western as possible. What does that mean? Take the kinda generic side characters of Squid Game. A lot of people don't like the gangster, that are kind of cardboard characters, but these are the types of cardboard people over the world can chew on. I mean, can immediately understand who they are because, well, we've all seen media with those kinds of characters. Now, you may ask, what happens when you try to watch stuff that has things in it that aren't familiar? Well, I tried to watch The Untamed last year, a Chinese fantasy show because the gay shit. And that show is, no shit, very Chinese. Sword fighters don't just, fight with their swords. They fucking fly in the air! I can't say Matrix style because the Matrix pretty much took it from Chinese wuxia films. The fact that I'm using Western media to explain Western media is the point. But more importantly, this show kind of assumes you already know how Chinese historical fantasy dramas work, because they basically begin in the middle of the story, when the main character has already become like a dark magician, estranged from his old magic teaching school, I think. And that expectation that you have to have some knowledge of how this genre works kinda makes it hard to get into the show. Believe me, I tried. I really wanted to because of the gay shit. I really wanted to see it. We often don't really realize in the West that a lot of supposedly international stories are quite readable for us, because they use Western storytelling techniques. Because in order to get an international audience, they have to. And is that thing bad? Well, on the one hand, Telling a story that way gets a lot of people around the world to view and understand your specific local story. On the other hand, you may have to sacrifice some of those local elements which make it unique. Compromises like this are widespread in the entertainment biz. Just look back at Netflix. Yes, you get a lot of butts in seats, or actually TVs, or even phones if you want to break filmmakers' heart. Like hey, part of the reason I tried to watch The Untamed was because it was on Netflix in the first place. But Netflix just aired a comedy special where a comedian went off making transphobic jokes, while also firing its trans workers who wanted to speak up against it. And hell, you can argue that corporations like Netflix are basically selling anti-capitalist media back to us, which, you know, ironic. In conclusion, Squid Game had to be on Seoul because it was made for a Western audience and produced by Netflix. Because it wanted to reach an international audience, it had to make some sacrifices to its locality. And to make its broad anti-capitalist message, it unfortunately had to enter the machine. So, well, this sucks. Guess I don't have a point to make anymore, so bye!